Welcome, everybody. We're going to start in exactly 1 minute. Okay. Thank you all for stopping in. Welcome to our YouTube Live. My name is Steve Weibel. I'm with Credit Suite. Today, we're going to talk about getting approved for initial credit on your business. Again, my name is Steve Weibel. I am not Ty Crandall. However, I am filling in for him today. He has some things he had to take care of, and I'm really excited to be here with you all today. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how you can begin building your business credit the right way, and even give you 3 initial vendors to begin building your business credit. We're going to talk about how you can get started, how you set your business up is important to creditors, why your credibility and your lendability is so important in the beginning steps. Okay, so let's dive right in. First of all, what is business credit? Business credit is basically credit that's in the company name, not tied to you personally. Okay, so just like with your personal credit, you need to build your business credit profile so that lenders look at your business as lendable. Just like in the beginning, when you were building your first personal credit, you might have gotten a cosign for a credit card or a car. Business operates in the same fashion, only you get to control how you start out. So again, it's obtained in the business name and the business name only. With business credit, a business builds its own credit profile and credit score, and we'll get into a little bit about the different types of credit scores and the different reporting agencies. So again, we're going to talk about how you can get started and how you can establish your credit profile and score, and then we're going to move into getting you at least 3 trade lines by the end of today. Okay, if you follow these steps. So once you've built this profile, your business is then going to qualify for credit. This is credit that you can use depending on the type of credit you're looking for to control the cash flow of your business. And I'll give you some examples of what has happened to me personally, what's happened to some of my clients, and you'll find that when people initially think business credit, they're thinking, oh, line of credit. It's not necessarily a line of credit, and that's certainly something you can build up to, but even beginning credit is a way to control your cash flow. All right, so let's dive in. So when we talk about business credit, we're talking about credit that's based on the business's ability to pay, not the business owners. So even if you're a person who's in open bankruptcy, or you have a super low credit score for whatever reason, if you were caught up in that housing crash that I was, you can still build business credit and get credit based on what your business does. It's a completely separate credit profile. Now, since the business qualifies for credit on its own, and in some cases, there are really no personal credit checks required. Actually, in most cases, especially in the beginning, you're going to find very few. The only time you're ever going to see someone ask you for your social, if you don't voluntarily give it away, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is when they're looking just to verify your identity. With the Department of Homeland Security, there are some laws that were passed recently that they're requiring that business owners supply their social security number when getting credit, only to use for identification purposes only, just to make sure nobody's laundering money, things of that nature. Okay. So when you're building your business credit should be done in a certain prescribed order. I hear people, and I've done it myself personally, where they go to build their business credit and they're doing an okay job. They know the right people to apply to, and they listen to maybe somebody who'd done it 10 years ago, but they struggle. They don't follow the right order. And the way I like to describe it to people is, look, in your backyard is a bucket filled with money that's buried, and you have a 5-acre backyard. You have 2 choices. You can go out there with a shovel and start digging, or you can follow the map. It'll get you there a lot faster. So what I've seen is, if people follow the right order, they can take anywhere between 3 and 5 years and compress it down to 5 or 6 months. And that's a big deal, especially since as a beginning business owner, you're doing pretty much everything, chief cook and bottle washer. I know I've built 2 separate companies, one up to $25 million. Okay, so if you go out of order, you're adding unnecessary delay. Again, 5 to 6 months versus 3 to 5 years. I've seen people get 2 trade lines, go and apply for the third one, get denied, have no idea why. The only reason they were denied, the only reason, was they were out of order. They needed 3 trade lines to be reporting or 3 payment experiences in order for them to get approved for the one that they're applying for. So it was really just a matter of adding that one extra line, but they didn't know. All right, so it's important that you stay in order when you're building your business credit. This works. This works for everyone. This isn't new. This has been around a long time. As a matter of fact, Walmart is the best business credit builder in the world. Literally everything you buy in Walmart has been purchased using business credit. They don't pay cash for what's on the shelf. They get terms from their vendors. They put them on the shelf. You buy it. You pay them. They then pay their vendors. So they're the epitome of business credit. And this works. It works for everyone. I don't care if you're starting your business tomorrow. And as a business owner, you can actively work to build your business credit. There's no mystery in this. It's really just a matter of following the right order. And if you watch what we talk about today, and if you have a pad and a pen with you, write it down. This works. This will work for everybody. I don't care if you leave this live webinar and start your business, you'll be able to build business credit within 30 days. You're going to have credit. Matter of fact, you'll get approved for credit very quickly, usually within a week. All right. So you're also allowing the time for the business to accumulate credit and also cash flow. I mean, look, building credit is one thing. You still have to pay your bills. You know, if you have an 800 personal credit score, nobody's going to give you $1 million mortgage if you don't have a job. So obviously you need to pay your bills. All right, so let's talk about the preliminaries. This is the most important step in building your business credit. This is the part where 99% fail. We have a program here where we help you build your business credit. And I tell people the most valuable part of that program is in the beginning when the advisors are involved, because they're guiding you. Because if you slip up here, it will slow down the entire process, if not stop it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is before you get started buying goods and services on credit, there's some preliminaries you have to do. Help immediately and also down the line, like we just discussed. Some require an initial investment. Don't panic. We're not talking a major investment. We're talking about some things that you have to do to make sure your business is set up credibly. We'll get into those things. And those of you who have heard this before, that's great. If you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to just type them in. I'd be happy to answer them. All right. So lenders and vendors get nervous when they see a new business, just like you would get nervous if you were extending credit to somebody who just started their business today. So we're going to look for certain things to make you look more credible or lendable or fundable, depending on the word you want to use. We want to give them a reinsurance by baking that fundability right into your company so that at a glance, you look like you may have been around for years. There are things that I talk about to my clients. They'll say, well, do I need an 800 number? Not necessarily. However, if Walmart, I'll use them as an example, put an application in to get credit from your company and the phone number they put down was a local number, not an 800 number, would you be surprised? You'd probably be shocked. You'd actually would probably think it was fraud because naturally a large company like Walmart's going to have an 800 number. Well, there's no reason why a small company shouldn't have an 800 number as well. It just makes you look larger. And that's what we're really trying to accomplish. It reassures your clients and prospects. Let's talk about that. People don't realize if they're going to do business with the government of the United States or any local government, that they will, one of the first things they're going to check is your D&B report. They're going to look at your paydex score. Now, the reason they do that is they want to make sure that the people they're doing business with pay their bills. They don't want to be in the middle of a contract with someone and have the contract not be able to be fulfilled because they couldn't fund the contract. I owned a printing company at one time, and the government was one of my customers, as a matter of fact, the United Nations was as well. And that's the first thing they checked. They looked at my credit to make sure I could fulfill up to $1 million jobs, which is what I was producing. So building your business credit not only impacts your cash flow, it can actually impact how much business you do with people. I know if I was going to do business with someone, the first thing I would do is pull their D&B report. I want to see where they were. What's happening? Are they giving me the right information? Do they pay their bills? If I'm going to hand them over money to produce something, I want to know they're going to produce it. I know of the people that are out there right now, there's a large percentage of you that have purchased something that never actually was fulfilled, especially when dealing with local, say contractors, but I don't mean contractors, anything from lawn care to windows. So anyway, so it's important to build your profile because it just gives your clients reassurance, and certainly it gives the lenders reassurance. All right. And it should also make you, the owner, get serious if you aren't already. I mean, look, nobody opens a business as a hobby. If you're opening a business as a hobby, it's not a business, it's a hobby. If you really are going to take that risk, and God bless you if you are, because I know what it's like, and that's it's a scary proposition, but the payoff is amazing. Um, you need to be serious about it. You need to be as serious about it as you are with anything else in your life. So building your business credit should be just one other aspect of that seriousness. This is something you need to take to heart because it will affect you and your business for the rest of your business career. And believe it or not, along those lines, if you build your business credit, and again, this is business credits that's tied to the business, not to you personally, your business not only becomes more fundable, not only looks more stable, but it actually becomes more valuable. And I use this analogy. If I had two barbershops on the same block doing the same exact volume and haircuts at the same price, everything's identical. One of them uses their personal credit to fund the business. The other one has anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000 in business credit that's transferable because it's in the business name. Which one's more valuable? The answer is obvious, right? So again, as an owner, you should take this very, very seriously. All right. Business fundability literally means you have a business on your hand. Okay, not a hobby. If you're fundable, that's a true business. There you go, not a hobby. I didn't even know that was on the presentation. That's just something I say on a regular basis. Okay, so fundability. Let's talk about the first steps in fundability. The first thing is going to be your business name. Now, this is where most people fall down. The full business name should include any and all recorded DBA filings that you'll be using. Now, what happens is I will see this on a regular basis. People will name, Star Enterprises, and they'll put Star ENT, and then with the IRS, they'll put Star Enterprises, and maybe on their license, they put Star Enterprises LLC. These all need to match. If they don't match, it's an immediate red flag, okay? Everything on your corporation papers, your licenses, your bank statements, everything should be identical. Keep in mind that today is a lot different than it was 30 years ago. Today, and every one of you have done this, every one of you have done this at least once, you've applied for a credit card online. And you usually get one of two things that happens. One, you're approved, and it's instant, or you get that dreaded pop-up, we'll be in touch in the next 30 days. Now, you know, and I know that nobody looked at that application. It was all done through artificial intelligence. It looked for certain red flags. It looked for credit scores. It looked for certain things that it made an instant decision on. Business credit, especially in the early realm, is done exactly the same way. They look for certain red flags. The first one being that your name doesn't match. Are you a legitimate business? You can't look up Walmart, and I'm picking on Walmart because everybody knows who they are. You're not going to look up Walmart and see their name spelled differently, the ink not included, or it is included. It's always going to be identical. Everything from their website to reviews to obviously the IRS to any locations they have, it's always identical. There's a reason for that. That adds credibility. Okay, so that's important that you pay attention to that. And we'll talk about the steps to make sure that you do that properly if you haven't already done it. All right, so here's where I run into a curveball. This is file your business and then get your EIN. Right, file your business with the Secretary of State and get your EIN. And that's exactly the right way to do it because I've had many a customer go get their EIN for their business name, Sally's Donuts, and then they go to file the business with the Secretary of State, and it turns out Sally Donuts is already in business 150 miles away in the same state. Now you don't have the name, but you've got an EIN. The EIN's worthless. Okay, so you always want to file the business name first before you file for your EIN. You need to actually have the business. Businesses are formed in the state you're in, or the state that you're forming it in. The EIN ties to the business name. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's very, very important. Step one, file the business name. Step two, get your EIN. Do it in that order. Okay, so let's talk about your phone number. Get a toll-free number. We just discussed that in a fax number. Now, I know probably 99, if not 100% of everybody in this webinar has a fax. They don't have a fax. If you do, it's an e-fax. Almost nobody uses fax machines anymore. Obviously, we do everything e-fax. However, when filling out an application, the more you put on there, the better it looks. Somebody turning in a blank or minimally filled out credit application just looks unfundable. They just look like they're new. They don't have any real cash flow. There's nothing. So when you get your toll-free number, grab a fax number as well. It's going to be an e-fax in 99% of the cases, unless you truly are using faxes right now. Now, this is where I run into arguments. In my opinion, when you register your business and your EIN, I think you should have your phone number already set as well as your address. So what I would do and what I tell people to do is, look, open up your Secretary of State's website, search the name of the company that you want to register. If it's there, don't do anything. Leave the screen open, go get yourself a phone number. Grab the phone number using the name you plan on registering, then go back and register the name. Now, is there a chance? Yes, that you could get the phone number and then suddenly the name's gone. Somebody snatched it while you're online. Yeah, probably 1 in a million. But the reason I say to do it in this order is because now you don't have to go back and update anything. If you apply for your business or register your business with your Secretary of State and you use your cell phone, major mistake one, because that's the only number you have. Then you go get your toll-free number and your local business number and your fax number. You have to go update that, and they charge you for updates. So that's kind of the way I approach it. I know not everybody feels that same way, but that's what I would do. That's kind of a shortcut. It saves you some aggravation later. So keep that in mind. So in my world, it would be get your number, register the business, get your EIN. Okay. Now, you want to get your phone number listed with the 401, National 401 database. You can use List Yourself. And when I say your phone number, an 800 number is automatically listed with the 800 directory. You're going to want a local phone number. Again, here's why. Because the National 401 database, for those of you who are old enough to remember, we used to have to dial 411 to get information on a business. If you're not listed, you're not real. It still exists today. Okay. And they only list local numbers. Now, if you don't want to put a business phone number in your home, or even in your office, I get it. I didn't have a real business line for the last, 3 years that I had my real estate business. Everything was digital. Everything was virtual, excuse me. So you can get a local phone number by getting what's called a virtual phone number. These items are essential to get approved for initial business credit. There are creditors whose only criteria to approve you for credit would be that you have an EIN number and that you're listed with the National 401 database. That's their only two criteria. So boo you if you have the EIN and you apply and get turned down. That means you just didn't do the one thing they were looking for. Again, local phone number, list with the National 401 database. You can use List Yourself. And if you need a local phone number, you don't want to use your cell phone. Don't use Google. That's not a real phone number. I know it feels like it is, but it's not, and I have one. You want to go to somebody like Ring Central, for example. Go to ringcentral.com. You can look it up. You can get an 800 number, fax number, and a local phone number. All these numbers, obviously, you're going to forward to your cell, but they're real business numbers. Okay? All right, let's move on. All right, they spell fundability, obviously. So we're setting you up so that your initial creditors, and that's what we're talking about today, will take one look at your profile and say, yes, let's fund them. Let's give them credit. We believe they're credible. Okay, so next thing we're going to move on to location. Now, this is a little outdated. It must be a real brick and mortar building. Let me explain that. The way that creditors look at businesses is, one, are they real? So what's the obvious way to see they're real? They have a brick and mortar building, right? I know that's unrealistic. I started my printing company in the basement of my home. I built it up to 25 million. So you don't need to have a brick and mortar building. Now, obviously I ended up in a brick and mortar building, but when I started out, there was no way I was going to pay for that. So if I put it on a grade, brick and mortar being A, B would be a virtual address, what's called a virtual address. You can go to somebody like Alliance, virtual addresses, or even Regis. And then C would be your home address. It's not optimal. We don't recommend it because we tend to see the approvals be lower. However, it doesn't mean you can't build business credit. You most certainly can. However, everything after that, complete failure. Don't throw PO boxes out. Don't use registered agents. Remember, they want to see if you're a real business. This isn't about hiding. This is about letting them see that you're truly a business. So If the opportunity arises, you're going to obviously want a real brick and mortar building. Okay. It has to have a deliverable physical address, hence the virtual offices work because they are real buildings. Okay. This says it cannot be a home address. Not necessarily true. In the old days, that's kind of what it was, but I see people building business credit all the time. I look at it this way. If anybody out there is a trucker, they'll agree with me. Over-the-road truckers are doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in business a year. However, they tend to work out of their home. I mean, they park their truck on their lot. A lot of them actually have farms or large lots. Are they a legitimate business? They're bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in business. So you can use a home address. It's just not optimal. What I tell people, especially in that business, is look, use your home for now. You can always update to a virtual office. They're not that expensive, between 100 and 150 a month. And that goes back to our first slide of you may have to spend some money, but it certainly makes you more legitimate. And the thing you have to be concerned with, business credit is public information. Okay. A business address is public information, and we want it to be public. That being said, I know everybody here has gone on Google Maps and gone to Street View and seen what they were looking at. I don't necessarily know if it's a good idea to have your potential clients, prospects, or vendors to have a full view of your home. So again, not optimal, but it can be done. Okay. This is an absolute no. Do not ever use a PO box or UPS address that literally says to a lender and even to prospects, you're not for real. Now, can you have that as a mailing address? Like, let's say your bank account you have at 123 Main Street. However, mailing address is PO Box 12345. Sure, you can do that. Absolutely. But your address that you would put on a letterhead, on your website or whatever, it needs to be a real address. Okay. Again, some lenders will not approve and fund unless this criteria is met perfectly. So keep that in mind. All right. Again, virtual offices, okay. Try Alliance. There's Alliance and Regus, Regus. I like Alliance. They may not be everywhere. Regus is pretty much everywhere. If you're thinking about using another company that's a virtual office, you just want to make sure they truly are a virtual office. Back in the 70s, there was a lawsuit because virtual offices were considered PO boxes. So that industry sued and they won. They are now recognized as an actual address. Okay. What they do is they will forward your mail to you, basically. They'll even take your phone calls. You can even get virtual phone numbers from the virtual offices. That's something to consider. Okay. Let's move on. All right. So now let's talk about your email address. This is one of my favorites because I love, and I hear from people every single day that own a business and their email address is bobscompany@gmail.com. That is not a professional email address. And certainly partydude2000 is not a professional email address. And I see all kinds. I know it's convenient. However, even with Gmail, you can get an @yourcompany.com email address. That is really important. Would any of you ever accept a credit application, again from Walmart, that said Walmart purchasing at gmail.com? You would think it was a scam immediately. Or better yet, you won the lottery and it came from lottery provider at gmail.com. Of course not. You would expect it at, payables at floridastatelottery.com. So keep that in mind. Think about how you would see things and then understand that's how they see things. Okay, so you need a professional email address. So you can go to GoDaddy and get that. It's really cheap. As a matter of fact, you're going to need a website anyway, so you might as well get the website URL and your email at the same time. All right. You should have a good-looking professional website. Now, this doesn't mean you need to spend $10,000 on a website. There are plenty of website blanks out there, I call them, that will pertain to your industry. I had 3 of them in real estate. In the printing industry, it was just getting started. By the time I sold it, the internet was just kind of coming into its own. But in real estate, I had 3 of them. 3 different websites. I had one for I buy houses. I had one for my real estate agency business. And then I had one for my property management. So and each one had its own URL. Each one had its own professional email address. Stephen@soldin73days.com, info@libertyproperties.com, info@newcamdenproperties.com, Stephen@quicktoclose.com. Actually, I had 4 of them. Okay, so you should have a good looking professional website. It's not that difficult. It's not that expensive. And those of you who are techies, I'm not 53 years old. You can certainly probably build one on your own. It's not that difficult, especially with WordPress. And there are companies that can do it for you very inexpensively. Here's what I'll tell you. Don't use Wix or Weebly, okay? This is where they own the site, you do not. You want to own the site, okay? It has to be your site. You don't want somebody controlling your domain, all right? So buy your name from a hosting company like GoDaddy. I use that only because everybody knows who GoDaddy is. And you can get the website and get the matching email address. I still have soldin73days.com. I think it forwards to Remax or somebody. And I still get emails on that, all right? It's you could literally put, anything you want, magic 8-ball at soldin73days.com, it will forward to my Gmail account. Okay, so just setting up your professional email doesn't necessarily mean you have to have Outlook and all that. If you like using your Gmail, great. Remember, this is about putting it on a credit application. Okay, that's what we want. Okay, you can get web design at Upwork. There's a company called Upwork. You go on there, well, it's more like a website, and you can have people bid on your business. Go to upworks.com. You can, if you need a logo, use Fiverr. Again, fiverr.com. These are people who will do the work for you. They bid on it. You could check their reviews out, and very inexpensively, you can get all of this taken care of. All right. So licensing, let's talk about that. If, again, trucker, you need your own authority. That authority is going to have your company name, has to match everything. Hair salon, I don't care what it is, real estate. My company name for me in Florida is Stephen Weibel, PA. All right, that's specific. It's like an LLC. Everything had to have Stephen Weibel, PA on it. Everything, my bank account, everything, website, everything, you name it. My signs had to have that. You have to do the same thing. And my license. Make sure if you need license in your state, city or local, and the county, and make sure, again, your address is correct on everything. All right, believe it or not, that one little thing will get you denied. It's ridiculous, but keep in mind, this artificial intelligence is searching for you through the entire internet. It finds this information in matters of a tenth of a second. If there is an issue, red flag, done. We'll have to do a manual underwrite. And you may get approved. Most times you won't. All right. You want to take time to verify that the domain agency, state, IRS, bank, and the 401 National Directory have your business listed the same way with your exact legal name. You can't use, again, I'll use mine, Quick to Close Incorporated. It was actually Quick to Close, Inc. I didn't spell that incorporated. Had I put incorporated, that would have been a problem for me if I had put it somewhere like that. You want to make sure everything's identical. Okay, you need to open a business bank account. Obviously, that's important. You're not in business without a business bank account. And I will tell you, I talk to at least 6 people a week who've been in business for 5 or 6 years who are funding everything through their personal bank account. A complete waste of time. Excuse me while I take a sip of this water. Here's why. Back in the day, you could just put down a bank reference, okay? Just a bank reference when you put an application in. And they would call your bank and say, I'm doing business with AYZ company, how's their business? And they would give a rating or an A-OK. Not like that today. They can do an instant check, whether you've bounced checks, whether you even have a business bank account, and what your bank account credit rating is. And we'll get into that in a minute. So don't use your personal bank account. Open a business bank account, and you want to keep as much money in that account as possible. And there's a reason for that. All right, keep a high account balance. This is essential for what's called a high bank rating. All right, so the bank gives you a rating, your credit, your account rating based on your average balance over 90 days. Okay, you want to keep a balance of $10,000 or higher for what's called a high 5 bank rating. Okay, 10,000 or higher. That's a big deal. That will push you over the edge when maybe you're not quite as fundable as you should be. But then if you have that type of balance or higher regularly in there, and I think that's a good idea anyway, if you can keep that amount of money in the bank at all times, you never have to worry about things like bounce checks, not having money for an emergency, things like that. So you want to keep your balance as high, at 10,000 or higher. I understand that's not possible for everybody, but you want to work towards that as a goal. Okay. You want to get that high 5 bank rating. Okay. Let's talk about creditors not hunting for every iteration of your company's name. That's what I was trying to explain. They're not going to, the system is going to find what it finds. If there are multiple versions of it, they're just going to throw it out the window. Okay, you got to make it very easy for them to find you. Let's say you don't get automatically approved, but it automatically defaults to a manual underwrite. So now the creditor calls you up their payables department and says, hey, we got your application. Yes, I know we didn't do an automated approval, but we still think there's an opportunity for you to get approved. They're going to look manually for everything. So they're going to Google your name. Let's say they don't find your website because you put it in improperly. Let's say the website, because you have sold in 73 days incorporated on there, not Inc., they just don't find it in the search. That's a mistake. Okay, we want to inundate them with as much congruent information as possible. So make it easy. All right, make sure everything matches. I mean, I'm hounding this on you today because it's that important. I hear people that complain 60 days into building the business credit that things aren't reporting. You have to understand something. When creditors report your credit, they have to. You don't necessarily always give them your EIN number. They can find all the information via the name. Okay, so if the name's wrong, or worse, there's two names that are the same and the address doesn't match, they just won't report anything. You could be building business credit and have nothing reporting, and I see that. That's probably the number one thing that I see. All right, so pay attention to that. It's very important. All right, again, your exact business name is always used, and for businesses with numbers in the name, this is a big deal. Decide whether it's spelled out or not. All right, are you going to spell out the word 5, or are you going to use the numeral 5? Once you make that decision, make that decision. All right, I had 5-Star Property Management. Forgot about that. Was another one. 5-Star Property Management was the number 5-Star Property Management LLC. That had to be like that everywhere. And that company had tremendous business credit. We'll go into that in a minute. I'll tell you exactly what I was able to do with that. Okay. Either way's fine. Just be consistent as always. All right. Getting initial credit won't matter if there's no way to report on your payment history. We just kind of touched base on that. So if everything's not consistent, it just won't report. D&B would rather not report something than report it incorrectly. Okay, so if something comes in, I've had this happen with places like Quill. They say, hey, I bought from Quill and it's not reporting. It's not reporting. Why is it not reporting? It must be Quill's fault. It must be D&B's fault. No, it's probably the fact that your address is wrong, or you had two addresses or two businesses at the same address. Now, everything's reported based on your address. If there's a second business in there, they're going to be like, whoa, which business is this for? They won't report anything. Okay, so your business needs a DUNS number. Now you can get that simply by going to dnb.com. That's the letter D, the word and, A-N-D, and then B as in boy.com. Okay, dnb.com. So it looks like Damba. They're free. I see this all the time. This is very important. You're going to apply for your number. The first thing that's going to happen is you're going to get put in a holding pattern. Okay, think about it. In today's day and age, how long does it take to generate a number? Right? Easy. Should be instant, right? Computers, random number generators, all doesn't match an existing number. However, D&B will take up to 60 days. The reason they do that is they want to sell you something. They're going to start off with their business credit builder package. Sounds great. We're going to help you build we're going to report anybody you're doing business with. Okay, and we're only going to charge you $1,900 for that. So if you tell us who you're doing business with, we'll report that as paid, and you're going to build your profile. Outstanding. Sounds great. What do you do next year? Oh, we got to pay $1,900 again to keep reporting them. Well, what happens when they don't report? It's a deadline. Let me explain what I mean by that. If you open a credit card and you get approved and you use it once, and you never use it again, you pay it off and never use it again, that's still going to be on your personal credit report as current until such time as you don't use it and they eventually close it down. Okay, but that can be years. I mean, I had a Target card for, I think, 8 years before they finally turned it off. If you close it immediately, it's gone, it's done, it's not an active account on your credit report. That's what D&B is offering. That if you don't continue to pay them, those lines close down. Now your payment experiences are gone. Okay, so don't let them upsell you on that. The next thing they'll try and sell you on is we have to verify who you are, and that's only going to cost you $400 and whatever. Sounds good. You have to verify who I am, and that's going to give me a stronger profile, right? Great. So where are you getting the information from? From you. So you're providing them information that they quote unquote are verifying, and then you're paying them for that. Don't fall for it. What I tell people to do, and I'm not saying you should lie, but I tell people, look, if you're a startup, just say, look, there's no chance I'm buying anything. I'm just getting started. I have no real revenue. I just need my number for the future. I've seen people get their numbers in 3 days. 3 days. So keep that in mind, okay? Don't let them upsell you on anything. All right. So it's a great idea also to pull your reports with D&B, Experian, and Equifax. You can do that at a cost. I'll even give you a way that you can pull your D&B and your Experian during this show today. You want to check your trade lines. You want to check your score and profile even before you apply. You want to know what people are seeing. Look, everybody has Credit Karma or some version of that. And you do that because you want to know what your score is. Before you apply for something, you want to know whether you have a good chance of being approved. I like the old days when it was all guessing game. You want to do the same thing with your business. Matter of fact, you want to do it even more with your business because it can change so quickly. All right, so check your trade lines, check your score, check your profile, make sure everything's correct. If it's not correct, contact the reporting agency, have it corrected. It's very easy to do, okay? Here's the thing. Trying to get approvals with existing bad credit presents a very unique and additional approval challenges. Now, I used to say it was fairly easy to remove bad business credit. It's getting harder and harder. Okay, sometimes it's almost not worth doing. Better off starting a new company name. However, you lose your time in business, and that's a big deal. Time in business is a very big deal, especially once you hit 3 years. Okay, keep in mind, in America and in most places, if a business can make it past 3 years, it's going to make it. If it gets to 5 years, it's got a great. At 10 years, you're on your way. All right, so time in business is important because lenders know that as well. However, if you've got bad credit and it's not yours, you can easily dispute it and it will be removed very quickly. Okay, so you want to take a look at your report, make sure there's nothing reporting that you're unaware of. I had one person that had the exact opposite. They had a $700,000 credit line reporting on them and they never had one, and it was paid perfectly. Now, obviously, I don't think they disputed that, but had it been paid negatively, badly, what would have happened? They would have never gotten any credit. So keep in mind that anything can show up even by accident. So you want to make sure that you're monitoring your business credit. All right. Review your report to dispute any derogatory items before applying for initial credit. Okay. I would recommend you do that right away. You can go to creditsuite.com/EIN and get more information. Okay. Experian and Equifax will give you a low credit score if they have your business basic information. Okay. So what will happen is if you have nothing reporting or very little, you're going to start off as a high risk company. So they will give you a credit score up to 100. Let me explain what that means. If you're 100, that means that you are better than 100% of the businesses out there. I've never seen 100. Okay. If you have a 70, that means that your stability is 70% better than other businesses in your industry, and so on and so forth, all the way down to a 28. I think the 28 is the lowest I've seen. So keep that in mind. What happens is people, not only will they do that, they'll also even recommend you for credit amounts based on your payment experience and the history you have in building business credit. And that's really awesome. When I get into that, you're going to understand what I mean. All right. So keep in mind, Experian will give you a low credit score. Don't panic. That will change quickly. D&B, on the other hand, won't even report until you have 4 separate payment experiences. Now, hear what I said. I said payment experience, not trade lines. Okay, payment experiences, you actually paid the bill. So you could have 3 trade lines with 4 payment experiences. Once you have that, they will generate what's called a paydex score. Here's what a paydex score is. If you get an 80 paydex score, that means you pay your bills on time. You're never late. Okay, 90 you're discounting, 100 is expect the discount. Okay, typically 80 is what you're looking for. You pay your bills on time. And creditors will even approve you with a 78. That means you may have missed a payment or been late on a payment one time. That's no big deal. Lenders understand businesses operate in a vacuum, and sometimes cash flow is what it is. So you want to keep it at least at 78 or above. Okay, and you'll find, especially if you end up working with us at some point, that we'll tell you exactly what they're looking for from a paydex score to be approved. Okay, so monitoring reports is always a smart idea. And our business credit builder lets you monitor your D&B and Experian business for only, forget the $29 a month. It's actually $24.99 a month. That's why I thought this was old. Keep in mind, I am filling in for Ty Crandall today. So it's actually $24.99 a month. It's through our NAV integration. If you're interested in that, you can certainly reach out, hit info@creditsuite.com. We can get you more information on that. This is something you really should take a look at. If you don't know what's on your report, how do you know if you're ever going to get approved for credit? All right. So You want to start with vendor accounts. Now I'm going to have to move through this quickly. I realize I'm at like 40 minutes into this and we've only got 20 minutes left. So vendor accounts are what we call net 30 accounts. They're also called trade lines. This is vendor credit tier. This is the first tier in building your business credit. Now vendors would be somebody you would buy something from. First of all, you would apply. They would approve you for credit, and usually the initial amount's going to be anywhere from $500 to $2,000. Typically, I see $1,000. Once you get approved, you're going to want to buy something from them. All right. And they're going to ship you the product. They're going to mail you the invoice, and you're going to have a term in which you have to pay it in. It could be a net 15, 30, 60, or 90-day terms. The government's always 90 days, and I see fuel companies like to be net 15 or sometimes even net 7. But that's called a vendor line of credit. You need to utilize them at least once, sometimes twice, and maybe even 3 times before they report. However, the good news is when they report, it will be 3 payment experiences. Okay. So this is the initial stage of building your business credit. What I like to say, being in the real estate business, is this is the foundation of your home, of your business credit. It's not pretty to look at. It's not always fun. You might even be buying from people you wouldn't generally buy from. However, without it, the home of your business credit will crash in. You need this foundation. This is important. Do not skip this step. Okay. You're going to buy the products and services up to whatever the dollar amount is. And then again, you're going to have that amount of time to pay in full. You get what your business needs and defer the payments on those for 30 days, thereby using cash flow. And I'm going to give you 3 different companies you can utilize and explain what they sell and why most businesses can utilize them. All right. So some vendors will approve your company for net 30 pretty easily. The ones I'm going to give you today certainly will do that. They'll do it upon verification of as little as, and we talked about this, an EIN number and a 411 listing. This is why preliminary fundability steps are vital. Okay. The things that we talked about in the beginning, that's why it's so vital, because you've gotten to this point, you've done everything correctly. We know you're going to get approved. Okay. I call it credibility. We're trying to change that to fundability, but it just means your business looks credible. Okay. So if you have a tough time, remember fundability, remember credibility. At this point, you should already have what it takes. If you follow what we just talked about, you should be where you need to be to begin applying for credit. You will need to use social security number and date of birth to start, but that's only for verification purposes only. That's what we talked about in the very beginning with the new Department of Homeland Security issues. They want to make sure that nobody is laundering money, buying products, selling them on the black market, taking the cash and using it to fund terrorism. I know that's kind of a little out there, but that's the new rules. So don't panic if they ask for your social. I'm not talking about on the application. I'm talking about when they say verbally, hey, can I have your social? We're using it for verification only. Okay. That being said, if it's an online application and it's asking you for Social Security, do not use it. You are now guaranteeing that credit. All right. Instead, you want to use your EIN, but you don't want to put it in the blank space. Never put anything other than your social in a field requesting a social. That's actually a federal crime. Okay. And if you don't know that now. No CPNs, no anything like SSN only. Okay. It's a federal offense. Okay. When you allow a credit check with your social, you are almost always giving a personal guarantee. And actually, I could say you are always giving a personal guarantee. One way to know if you have business credit already is to ask, did you get credit without signing for it and providing your social security for any purpose beyond verification? Just ask them that. Oh, I'm giving you my social. Is this for verification verification of my identity, or are you running my social? If they say we're running your credit, say forget it, not interested. Okay. So keep that in mind. You've got business credit. If you've done this and you've been approved, you now have business credit. All right, so true starter vendors will approve you with minimal fuss, like we talked about. They'll also report to at least one of the business credit reporting agencies. This is what you need. This is really the key. All right, you may need to make a few purchases before credit is extended. However, they will report. I'm going to give you an example. Quill is notorious. If you're a startup business, they may not issue you credit right away and people get disappointed. That's okay. Buy something from them. Go back and buy something again the next day or the next week. And then the third time, they generally will issue you credit. Okay, so keep that in mind. Keep trying and paying on time and in full, and you will be approved. Okay, so here's 3 to get started. All right, most of you may have heard of these. If not, write them down. All right, so Quill, www.quill.com. Quill is what I call an expensive version of Amazon. You can buy pretty much anything. There's a million products there. Everything from inkjet, which a lot of people will use Quill for, to computers, to paper, toilet paper, paper towels, Windex, you name it, Quill sells it. This is a great vendor because you can even use it to buy things you might use at home, but you're getting the added value of a trade line reporting. And I hear this a lot. What am I going to buy from Quill? It's really not what you're buying from Quill. It's what Quill is providing you for buying from them. Between you and I don't know that Quill would even be in business if they didn't report business credit, because I could certainly go to Amazon and buy things cheaper there, 5-10% cheaper. But that extra little bit of money is helping your business grow. So Quill is a great vendor. Take advantage of it. Okay. Here it gets a little more difficult. Uline. Now, it says shipping supplies. Don't be fooled. Uline sells a lot of different products. And I will tell you that I personally have purchased from Uline. I had no reason. I don't ship anything, but I needed the large trash cans that the trash trucks pick out in front of your house, all automated now. Mine broke. The lid broke. So I went to go buy one, and I realized I couldn't get it in my car. Logged on to Uline. They're about $100. Used my business credit, ordered it. It was shipped. Sent me the invoice, paid the bill. Guess what? Reporting, and I got it. Okay, so you can find something at Uline. That's just one item. They sell everything from safety items, fire extinguishers, first aid kits, you name it. Another one is Grainger Industrial Supply. Anybody who's a tool head knows who Grainger is. You can buy tools there. You can buy a ton, everything from working motors, small working motors. Go to Grainger.com, check out their catalog. It's extensive. They will approve you as well. These are three that will 100% approve you for business credit if your business is set up credibly. Okay. All right. So recap. Business credit building takes some preparation, takes a little bit of time, and maybe even a little bit of money if you have to get that virtual phone number, that website. There's going to be a small investment, but these are things you need for your business anyway. So if you're not willing to invest into your business, how can you expect a lender to invest into your business? You need to set these things up properly so that you can get approved in the future. Okay. The preliminary work is well worth your time. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it pays off in saving you time in the near future. All right, fundability helps with business credit building. And with assuring, again, back to your prospects. This will let, if you do business with any government, and I'm talking state, local, they will check your D&B report. And like I said, I would check your D&B report if I was going to be paying you for a service. So keep in mind, it's public information. It's not easy to find out how your business credit is. All right. Set up your starting credit reports and monitor them. That's important. Don't miss this step. It's very important. As a matter of fact, if you're ever interested and you want more information, contact us at info@creditsuite.com. We recently were just running a special where if you began working with us, we would give you 1 year free of monitoring your business credit. If you're interested in hearing more about that, just again, info@creditsuite.com. And start the business credit building process with true starter vendors. Those are the 3 vendors that I gave you. Okay. These are vendors that will give you credit and will give you credit fairly easily. Now, let's talk about time involved in that before we close this out. Some people get a little disappointed because it takes so much time for the first vendors to report, but let's walk this all the way through. You apply for credit and you're approved. Unless you buy instantly on the spot, and some people will, but let's assume you do. You buy instantly on the spot. You say, I'm approved. I'm going to go and I'm going to buy $50 worth of X from Quill. And typically that's the minimum. You're going to need to spend at least $50. You're not going to get approved for credit and have it report for $2. Keep in mind, it costs them more than that to report. Okay. So you spend $50 with Quill and they send you the product. Typically you're looking at a week to receive the product. Now they're going to send you the bill. Okay, so let's say you get that 3 or 4 days later. Now you're 10 days into it, maybe even 15. You get the bill, you have 30 days to pay it. So it's 30 days based on when they printed the bill. So it may have been somewhere in between when you got the bill and when you received the product. Okay, so now you have 30 days to pay it. So you pay it off, let's say in 25 days. So now we're 4 weeks into this process, right? But you just missed the reporting cutoff. So now they have to apply that credit to your account and then they have to report it. That may take another 30 days. Everybody reports differently. You know that if you have personal credit, you could pay off your credit card and you get your next report. It doesn't show as paid off yet because maybe you just missed that reporting cycle. So keep that in mind. I tell people, look, figure 60 days for your trade lines to show up in the beginning. Once that happens, and plus you have to remember there may be some issue with reporting that may have to get tweaked. But once that happens, then things move faster from there. Okay, and we're talking about initial credits. From there, you're moving into store credits, vehicle financing, Visas, MasterCards. There's so much credit you can get in the company name. Right now, we're just talking about the initial credit. This is the hardest part. This is when most people quit. This is when most people fail. And I always tell them you're quitting before the miracle. 60 days minimum before you start seeing some real activity. It's frustrating because you're waiting. It's worth it. Stick with it. Okay. So start with the true starter vendors. Again, my name's Steve Weibel. I'm with Credit Suite. If you need more information, contact us at 877-600-2487. That's 877-600-2487. info@creditsuite.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I want to thank you all for coming in today. I actually rolled through this pretty quick, about 10 minutes early. Once again, thank you very much. Any questions, reach out to us. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.